A very warm welcome to Africa Good Morning, where we keep you abreast of the latest happenings across the African continent. My name is Aina Raizakoya, alongside Diana Master, and we are your host for this morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's a brand new week.
It's a brand new
opportunities, you know, new blessing. Everything is just fresh.
Everything is fresh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a chance to basically rethink, redo things differently from the way you did them last week. So I mean, go out
and also tick off those goals that you
tick off the goals.
Tick off last week.
Exactly. Set new goals for the week. Set new goals for the week. Accomplish those goals. But before you do that, let's get into what you can expect in today's broadcast. An update on the G7 summit. Africa seeks a new role as nations eye its resources. Nandipha Magudumana wants her arrest in Tanzania declared wrongful and unlawful. Russia's places ICC prosecutor on wanted list. We're also going to be speaking to Talent Gore, who will give us the latest news on the ground in Zimbabwe. And later on, we speak to Ari Hochad as he gives us a sports update. Stick around, we'll be back with our top stories right after this break.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Here are the news making headlines now. G7 summit. Africa seeks a new role as nation eye its resources. Africa will not accept that it should just continue to be a source of raw materials for the rest of the world, the African Union's Trade Commissioner has told BBC. Albert Muchanga says instead his continent wants a future of genuine and mutually beneficial relationships with its trade partners. It comes as the AU chair has been invited to the G7 summit in Japan amid intensifying competition with China for Africa's natural resources. With Western powers seeking greater trade links with the continent, there have been visits to a host of African countries in the run-up to the summit from the leaders of France and Germany, as well as the U.S. Vice President. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visited Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, and Mozambique at the start of this month as he sought to bolster African support for his efforts to counter Chinese and Russian influence on the continent, as well as in regards to Taiwan and Ukraine.
Now, Nandipha Magudumana wants her arrest in Tanzania declared wrongful and unlawful. Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, the alleged accomplice and girlfriend of convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester, is challenging her arrest in Tanzania. Magudumana has filed urgent court papers in the Bloemfontein High Court seeking to declare her arrest, abduction and deportation last month in Tanzania wrongful and unlawful. The matter is expected to be heard on Thursday. Magudumana's legal team has not yet disclosed the ground on which they'll be arguing for a release from prison. However, in a notice to court, she wants to declare the arraignment before the current magistrate Motlolo Kabisi in the criminal case nullified and set aside. Magudumana faces multiple challenges and charges, including fraud, defeating the ends of justice, and assisting an inmate to escape from prison in connection with Bester's daring escape from the Mangaung Correctional Center in May last year.
You know, our next story. ICC member deeply concerned by Russia's decision to put prosecutor on wanted list. The member states of the International Criminal Court on Saturday said they were deeply concerned by Russia's decision to place a court prosecutor and several judges on a wanted list. The ICC British prosecutor Karim Khan has been added to the Russian Interior Ministry's wanted list, state-owned news agency TASS reported on Friday, citing the ministry's database. The presidency of the Assembly of States parties to the ICC Committee, the court's management oversight body, and in a statement, it regrets these acts of intimidation and unacceptable attempts to undermine the mandate of the International Criminal Court to investigate, sanction, and prevent the commission of the gravest international crimes. The Hague-based ICC issued a warrant arrest for President Vladimir Putin in March, accusing him of war crimes, of allegedly deporting children from Ukraine. It said there were reasonable grounds to believe Putin and Russian Child Rights Commissioner Maria Belova bore individual criminal responsibility.
Now moving over, 6 dead after outbreak of diarrheal disease in South Africa. At least 6 people have died following an outbreak of diarrheal disease or a gastrointestinal infection in the country. Diarrheal disease is a common and often highly infectious condition that affects the stomach and intestines. The Department of Health has urged South Africans to take extra precautionary measures and maintain proper hand hygiene following the outbreak of diarrheal disease and also the rising number of cholera cases. Health Department spokesperson Foster Mohale said they were informed of cases of people presenting with gastrointestinal symptoms in Hammanskraal, north of Pretoria, in the past few days. This has led to over 50 people receiving medical care at Jubilee Hospital. Unfortunately, 6 patients have lost their lives. It is a leading cause of child mortality and morbidity in the world and mostly spreads through contact with an infected person or through contaminated food and drinking water sources, Mohale said. Individuals generally become ill 12 to 48 hours after exposure. Some of the common symptoms include diarrhea, cramps, nausea, vomiting, and low-grade fever.
Gambian army sorry after soldiers tear off opposition posters. The Gambian army has apologized after some soldiers were seen pulling down campaign posters of opposition politician Mayor Taliba Ahmed Bensouda. Bensouda is running for re-election in Gambia. Political tension have been rising ahead of Saturday's mayoral and regional elections in the country. The soldiers' actions have caused outrage among Gambians who have condemned their behavior. In a statement on Thursday, the army said it was investigating the involved soldiers but termed their action as isolated incident. We wish to assure the general public that appropriate actions will be taken against anyone found wanting. Meanwhile, we regret any inconvenience this unfortunate incident might have caused, the army said. Master Bensouda came into office in 2018 under the United Democratic Party, the original political home of President Adama Barrow. But President Barrow later fell out with the UDP and formed his own National People's Party. Many observers now say Master Bensouda is likely to be the main challenger in the 2026 presidential elections.
That brings us to the end of our top stories. We'll be back with Talent Gore after the break as she gives us an update on all the news making headlines that side.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Now let's cross on over to Harare, Zimbabwe, and we speak to Talent Gore. Talent Mamkasi. Aywa. Tamuka. So starting off, government withholds nurses' key documents. Could this be because the government doesn't want nurses fleeing to the United Kingdom? What is the story?
Yes, apparently the government doesn't want nurses to leave the country. They are saying that the more our nurses leave for greener pastures, the more that we are left with no trained nurses. So apparently thousands of healthcare workers who paid $300 United States for verification letters needed to secure jobs outside the country have still not received the documentation as government tries to stem a damaging brain drain. Critics are saying that this is a deliberate move by the Health and Childcare Ministry to try and frustrate health workers trying to leave the country for better paying jobs elsewhere. Apparently, 3.4 million United States dollars may have been defrauded from thousands of registered nurses who applied for certificates of good standing and confirmation letters from the NCZ, which is the Nurses Council of Zimbabwe. And also, the chairperson of Zimbabwe Nurses Association told the parliament that nurses who paid for verification fees in 2020 to receive the documentation.
All right, Talent, in your next story, 4,270 inmates released on presidential amnesty. Tell us about this.
Yes, on Friday, about 4,270 inmates were granted amnesty by the president, Emerson Mnangagwa, earlier this month, general elections. Apparently, the amnesty was granted to those who committed non-violent crimes, and people are lashing out saying that how can people who raped, who were serving 16 years, like this man who's on the picture, he was supposed to serve 16 years in prison for raping, but he only managed to save 4, and now he's on his way to his place. So people are saying that it's not fair that the president had to pardon those who had committed crimes such as rape. But you can see this inmate is apparently happy to be leaving. She had served about 4 years of her term. She was supposed to be in prison for 6 years. So now most of them, the 4,270 people, they left for their places. They were taken by their relatives. And the Zimbabwe Correctional Prison said that the society must embrace those who have been granted amnesty, and they should welcome them back into society.
Well, quite controversial regarding the fact that they didn't really use a proper investigation to see whether or not these people were fit to be back in society. And finally, $50 million boost for Zimbabwe conservation. Please tell us about this.
Yes, Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Authority has signed a historic 25-year agreement to secure $50 million United States dollars partnership with the International Fund for Animal Welfare to support wildlife conservation in Hwange National Park. The agreement, which builds on the success of the existing 5-year partnership between the International Fund for Animal Welfare and ZimParks, mainly focused on Hwange National Park, which is Zimbabwe's largest national park with a coverage of 14,651 kilometers. So quite historic, and we are very much proud of this partnership between the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Authority and the International Fund for Animal Welfare.
That indeed is good news. Thank you so much, Talent, for bringing us the latest news on the ground in Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
All right, so today is the International Day of Biological Diversity under the theme From Agreement to Action, Build Back Biodiversity. This is what David Cooper, Acting Executive Secretary of the Convention of Biological Diversity, has to say.
Today, this International Mother Earth Day, we reflect on our relationship with and our dependence on nature. Biodiversity is the heartbeat of Mother Earth, the variety of life on our planet. It is the air we breathe, the water we drink, the soil we walk on, the food we eat, the trees we seek shade under. It is everything. Unfortunately, that heartbeat is becoming faint. Biodiversity is being lost at unprecedented rates. That loss is being accelerated by climate change and many other human factors, and our future is being threatened. It is time to resuscitate Mother Earth's heartbeat and work towards the global vision of living in harmony with nature by 2050. We can get there. The Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework can put our planet on a path to recovery by halting and reversing biodiversity loss and helping to combat climate change. However, we need to act now in order to see results by 2030. Some of the framework's targets include aims to effectively conserve and manage at least 30% of the world's lands, waters, coastal areas and oceans, and to restore or have under restoration at least 30% of degraded ecosystems. Indigenous peoples and local communities will be instrumental in achieving these and all targets. And in doing so, their rights must be respected. The framework also addresses the sustainable management of wildlife, controlling invasive alien species and pollution, including from pesticides, and the reduction of harmful subsidies, to name a few. We have the plan, but now we must move from agreement to action. If we act with urgency and implement the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework at national and subnational levels, we will start to build back biodiversity and create a sustainable future for humankind. This day and every day, I urge you to reflect on your relationship with Mother Earth. Consider what you can do, what your community can do, and what your country can do to mainstream biodiversity and implement the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework.
Yeah, the economic news. How Kenya's political games are hurting IAC common market. Kenya's internal political intrigues are increasingly becoming a non-tariff barrier to trade in the Eastern African community, potentially harming the success of the common market, with Uganda milk producers being the latest victims. The Ugandan Dairy Development Authority this week, after complaints from some exporters and producers, said that authorities in Kenya were limiting a number of exports permits for powder milk and issuing others at a slow pace.
Now moving over, swift Ghana debt rework would benefit Eurobond prices, JP Morgan says. A swift conclusion to Ghana's external debt restructuring would benefit its international bond prices, but the talks may be tricky and holders could face a write-down of up to 50%, analysts said, after the country secured a $3 billion IMF risky loan. Ghana is aiming for $10.5 billion of debt service relief for 2023 to 2026 as it restructures two-thirds of its $30 billion external debts, according to the International Monetary Fund's debt sustainability analysis published on Wednesday, giving more hints of what sort of hit international bondholders might face.
Let's have a look at our economic indicators.
It is a great time to be a Manchester City supporter and the worst time to be an Arsenal supporter. And I'm actually quite touched that Ashton is not here, so I could clearly laugh in his face as Manchester City were crowned the champions of the English Premier League. Now here to give us more on this, Ari Hohat. Good morning, Ari.
Yes, very good morning, Diana. Yes, full weekend. Yes, Manchester City indeed champions, and I think you must just give Ashwin a little hug, say that you understand his team. Maybe that's the way to go. But anyway, let's get to the results. What happened on the pitch was that it was Manchester City that beat Chelsea by 1-0, but they didn't need to, actually. They were title winners before that, as Nottingham Forest beat Arsenal by 1-0. That was earlier, and that effectively knocked Arsenal out. They've been losing quite a few games in the last few weeks. Manchester City kept on winning, and they title winners for the third consecutive year and their fifth title in 6 years. So Pep Guardiola starting to build a big team there, and doing what Alex Ferguson did way back for Manchester United. They're on for the treble quickly. They can also win the FA Cup in a final against Manchester United. They also play in the Champions League final against Inter Milan. So they're up for the treble. Only once before that was done in 1998-1999 season, Manchester United did that. Other results quickly is Manchester United won 1-0 against Bournemouth. That put them convincingly in the top four. And Liverpool drew with Aston Villa 1-1, and that probably put them out of the top four for Champions League next year. Going on to golf news, it was late last night. It finished, or early this morning. It was the PGA in the USA, one of the four majors. There's played at Oak Hill. The winner there was Brooks Koepka of the USA. Came in with a 67 in his final round. There's Brooks Koepka for a total of -9, beating Scotty Scheffler of the USA, Victor Hovland of Norway into second place on the 7-under par. Brooks Koepka currently plays in the Live Golf Breakaway League, so he doesn't play on the PGA, but he plays in the majors. So a great performance by him to win his fifth major. Going on to tennis news, and it's Daniil Medvedev that won the men's title. That was in the Italian Open. That's leading up to the French Open starting this week. That is the picture of Helge Rune that he played against. He's from Denmark. A brave performance by the 20-year-old, but it was Daniil Medvedev, experienced Russian player, won his first ever a tournament on clay, actually on the Thousands tournament. So a big achievement for him just before the French Open. In the women's section, it was Elena Rybakina. She is from Kazakhstan, formerly from Russia. She beat Alina Kalinina from the Ukraine. But the score there was 6-4 and then 1-love when Kalinina had to withdraw because of an injury. But there's the winner, Elena Rybakina from Kazakhstan. Going on to rugby news, it was the final of the European Championship for the Heineken Cup. It's very prestigious. All the best teams in Europe and South Africa now playing that. That's a team from La Rochelle, from France, celebrating a close win, 27-26 win that was in Dublin against Leinster. A great achievement. They were 17-0 down in the first half. So they won consecutive titles, also won last year in Marseille against the same opponents, Leinster. So a great achievement there from the team from France. A few South Africans also playing there. Dylan Lates, the wing that also played there. And so a great performance by La Rochelle. Just to close off quickly, it is the Giro d'Italia cycle tour that continues, stage 15. They only finished this coming weekend. Stage 21 will be the Sunday. It was stage 15. It was Brendan McNulty of the USA that won stage 15 in a sprint against Ben Healy, was just second. He's from Ireland. But overall, it's still Bruno Amiral that leads from France. So he's the overall leader. Beautiful settings there. The Giro d'Italia continuing this week, finishing on Sunday. So that's the international sports news for today. Hope you have a great day. And Diana, remember to give Ashwin that hug and tell him there's always next season. So best for everyone. Great week.
That was Ari Hohad with the sports news. We'll be right back with the highlights from today's broadcast. You're watching Africa Good Morning. If you're just joining us, here are the news highlights. G7 summit, Africa seeks new role as nations eye its resources. Nandipha Magudumana wants her arrest in Tanzania declared wrongful and unlawful. ICC members deeply concerned by Russia's decision to put prosecutor on wanted list. How Kenya's political games are hurting EAC common markets.
Those have been our stories. We thank you very much for watching our show this morning. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can post them on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Please be reminded that Africa Good Morning screens on DSTV channel 285 as well as GoTV channel 25. And on that note, it's all our love, all our light, and happy Monday.